what we launched in our product drop was Visa Intelligent Commerce, which is to enable these AI agents to perform these transactions, but most importantly, complete the payment component of that in a really frictionless manner. Because commerce without the payment component is not commerce.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Visa Spotlights podcast. I'm your host Dan Baxter. Today we're going to be exploring some of the innovations that were recently announced at Visa's global product drop on April the 30th in San Francisco. This landmark event introduced a number of new technologies, products and solutions that are set to further reshape and advance the world of payments. A key theme emerging from the event was the growing influence of AI and agentic commerce. This technology is set to revolutionize the way in which people interact with commerce, and Visa's secure network is positioned to be at the heart of this evolution. Joining me today is Godfrey Sullivan, who leads products and solutions for Visa across Central and Eastern Europe, Middle East and Africa, and we'll explore these themes in more detail. So let's dive straight in. There's obviously been a lot that's been discussed over the last 12 to 18 months on the role and impact of AI and how it's transforming many different industries out there. What are some of your thoughts in terms of the role that AI can specifically play when it comes to payments and commerce across our region?
So AI is evolving from a potential disruptor to business into having a very real, tangible impact on how businesses across the region are functioning. And the world of payments is by no means immune from this. And I think we're seeing three big areas of AI impacting in the payment space. The first of these is around the use of AI in risk and fraud solutions related to payments. So Visa has been using AI for more than 30 years to optimize our risk and fraud systems to ensure that payments are safe and secure. And we're seeing our capabilities really ramping up in that domain. Over the last 10 years, we've invested more than $3 billion in AI-related infrastructure and capabilities, specifically in that area. I think the second area that we're seeing is a lot around the use of AI in terms of analytics and insights to really personalize the commerce experience. We're seeing banks, we're seeing merchants take on the capabilities of AI to get a better understanding of their customers and tailor propositions and products to the unique needs of different customer segments. And what we're just beginning to see now, and what was highlighted in the product drop over in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, is the application of AI into the actual process of commerce, the shopping experience, which hitherto has been very much a kind of hunt and peck experience where you go through and you scroll through a website. Now we're seeing AI agents enabling so much of that shopping, browsing and searching and purchasing being completed by the AI agent themselves as opposed to us, the consumers, and making the shopping experience even more frictionless. If you look at the Gartner report, they express that by 2028, up to 15% of e-commerce transactions could be conducted by these AI agents. So that's a super exciting area for us.
So recently at the Global Product Drop, we announced Visa Intelligent Commerce, which is a bold step into the future of AI-powered payments. Could you introduce a bit on Visa Intelligent Commerce and what impact that'll have on merchants, consumers across the region?
Absolutely. So this was a super exciting product drop. And we, as I mentioned, we're at the cusp of AI agents becoming a meaningful player in the commerce experience. So we were thinking about how we can take all the decades of experience that we have in making sure payments are safe and secure and trusted by our consumers, by our banks and our merchants, and how can we apply this into an environment where you're handing over parts of the shopping experience to an AI agent. And we think there's tremendous potential in those transactions which involve multiple steps. For example, if you're booking a weekend of travel away and you need to perhaps book a flight and book a hotel and book some activities on the weekends, this can be very time consuming as an individual consumer, going to one website, evaluating what's the best options for flights, going to different hotel websites and selecting that. It can be cumulatively, you're going to spend a couple of hours doing this. What AI commerce can enable is for an AI agent to conduct all of that exercise for you. And so what we launched in our product drop was Visa Intelligent Commerce, which is to enable these AI agents to perform these transactions, but most importantly, complete the payment component of that in a really frictionless manner. Because commerce without the payment component is not commerce. And what the AI agents hitherto lacked was that ability for you to use your card to verify that it is actually you, the consumer, who is authorizing the card to transact with an AI agent, to set controls for the types of transactions that you're willing to conduct, and also for those transactions to be monitored and have the right signals sent back to the Visa network to ensure that no fraud is taking place. So that has been the essence of Visa Intelligent Commerce. Specifically, there's three components to it. One is making sure that every Visa card that is used with an AI agent is AI ready. So this means it needs to incorporate our latest technology from a tokenization and authentication perspective. The second component is that what we're doing, and I think this is super unique, is incorporating personalization into the AI experience. So as you go to your AI agent and you're perhaps selecting where you want to go for a weekend away, we will identify different profiles of customers based on your previous transactions, and only with your customer consent incorporate that in the feedback to the AI agent to make a more tailored set of experiences come to you, and then a faster checkout experience overall. And then the third component is around incorporating the transaction controls and the signals that we send back to the Visa network to make sure that you're fully in control of your AI agent as they're conducting the transactions with you. So you can set specific spend limits, you can say what type of transactions you want your AI agent to conduct. So that's a really great package that we have put together. We've been in discussions with dozens of AI companies around how they can partner with us, get access to the 5 APIs that we have set up, get access to the sandbox where they can test these APIs. And we announced at the product drop a partnership with OpenAI, with Stripe. We're also working with Perplexity, with Mistral, with IBM, with Microsoft, an array of players, predominantly in North America, where a lot of this innovation is taking place. However, we are open and encouraging the involvement of many of the leading AI companies outside of North America, and particularly in the CEMEA region, in the GCC, there's a number of these players. We've had preliminary discussions, and we certainly encourage them to reach out to us and to experiment about how they can incorporate our AI future-proof payments capabilities into their design for these models moving forward.
So the world of AI and commerce is obviously moving incredibly fast. There's a number of new exciting technology announcements. What can banks and merchants and consumers across the region do now to prepare for this next wave of commerce?
Yeah. So you're right, it's a super exciting time. I think the priority for our partners across the Visa network is particularly with the issuers, the banks and the fintechs, to ensure that their card credentials are token enabled. What this means is the physical card is enabled to have a tokenized representation, and these tokenized credentials are what we're making ready for AI commerce. So if you have a bank, if you have a conversation with the bank, make sure the bank is tokenizing its credentials so that these can be used in these AI agents, and you can set up all the controls that you need in order to transact. So that's a real emphasis on our issuing partners. So in terms of the rollout, already banks who have tokenized credentials can enable these into AI agents to conduct transactions. What we'll see over the next 12 months is Visa Intelligent Commerce and the full set of capabilities that we're offering being rolled out and becoming increasingly used by individuals and merchants across the region. So super exciting times ahead.
Very good. So in addition to everything that was covered on agentic and AI and commerce, we also spent a lot of time discussing stablecoins and the role that stablecoins can play in helping people and businesses move money across the region. Could you give a bit of an introduction to stablecoins and the way in which Visa sees them?
So I think stablecoins is another really fascinating area of innovation in the financial services space. What a stablecoin is essentially a digital token that is a representation of a fiat currency, whether it's a dollar or a dirham or other forms of currency. And why that's important is that that token can be sent from one individual, one institution to another at incredibly fast speeds, removing some of the dependencies on the correspondent banking network, particularly when you're doing cross-border transactions, and also reducing the costs of those cross-border transactions when you're sending between institutions or on a peer-to-peer basis. And so there's a number of really important developments in that. At the product drop, we highlighted our partnership with Bridge, which is a company which is now owned by Stripe, to enable stablecoin-backed cards to be issued to fintech developers across, firstly, Latin America, but subsequently also the CEMEA region. And so what this means is that fintech developers can develop different propositions that allow stablecoin backed cards to be issued to their customers. So what is a stablecoin backed card? This is a card which, as opposed to drawing on the balances in a bank account, draws on the balances in a stablecoin wallet. So if you hold USDT, Tether stablecoin, you can use that to pay for transactions anywhere across the 150 million merchant-wide network of Visa. So this partnership with Bridge is enabling fintechs soon across the CEMEA region to be able to offer those types of products to their end customers, which we see as really important across many markets where stablecoin adoption is really taking hold. So I think that's the first area. The second area is really important for our payments ecosystem and our 14,000 banks which use the Visa network. So across the Visa network at present, you conduct a transaction and the settlement that takes place between your bank and the merchant bank goes through the correspondent banking system. Now, the correspondent banking system is kind of slow because the banks are closed on the weekend. So if you do a transaction on a Friday and the banks are closed for the weekend or maybe for a bank holiday, the transaction does not get to the other bank until later the next week, which causes slowness in the system. There's cost and expense. So what we're looking at doing is using stablecoins increasingly to conduct the settlement leg of a Visa transaction. So from the consumer's bank to the merchant bank, for that settlement to take place using stablecoins, which can be done instantly and at very low cost. We've already done more than $120 million of these stablecoin settlement transactions within the Visa network. And we see that as a really important area so we can unlock liquidity for all of the financial institutions and the merchants that are using the Visa network. So that's a really exciting second thing that we're engaged with.
So AI and stablecoins are obviously two of the most exciting areas happening in the world of payments at the moment. But what are some of the other broader trends which you're seeing across our region?
I think one of the biggest ones, which is perhaps not as glamorous as AI and stablecoins, is just the steady, pronounced shift that we're seeing from cash to digital payments. If you go back to 2019, 65% of transactions across our CEMEA region were conducted in cash. Now we're down to just 43% of those transactions. There's still a lot of cash being used across parts of Africa particularly, but there's a very pronounced shift away from cash to digital payments. And that's been enabled by a number of different factors. So the first one of these is around digital identity. We're just getting better at understanding who people are in these digital transactions, both in a face-to-face environment, but particularly in e-commerce. The internet was not designed to conduct transactions online, but we're seeing governments investing a lot in that. We're seeing fintechs get much better on digital identity. In many countries, we're seeing the development of real-time payment platforms where governments are investing in order to provide societies with low-cost forms of account-to-account based transactions. That's having a very positive effect. But we're also seeing a lot of fraud associated with those. So we as a network are continually challenged by fraudulent transactions, in an area we invest hugely in to ensure that all our transactions are safe and secure. As these new account-to-account and real-time payment platforms emerge, they're encountering these same problems, and we're actually working with many of them on how to address the risk and fraud challenges that we see. We're also seeing the adoption of embedded finance. It is coming in many forms, but it's to make the transaction process much simpler for customers, and particularly those customers that want to finance the transactions. So we're seeing tremendous growth in buy now, pay later, for example, and we're seeing lots of developments in terms of embedded finance being incorporated into the e-commerce experiences. So you have the option to pay through financing if that's important for you as a consumer. So those are some of the big trends that we're observing.
So the pace of change obviously continues to accelerate across our region. Could you talk about some of the ways in which Visa's helping banks and merchants and cardholders keep up and stay ahead of these trends that you just mentioned?
We're doing some really interesting things across the region. One of them that I'd like to highlight is around Visa payment passkeys. So this relates to the challenge of digital identity and how can you recognize someone from a digital transaction. What we are doing with payments passkeys is combining this with another solution called Visa Click to Pay for the checkout experience. So in the checkout experience, to date, you have typically been required to enter in your PAN details, your 16-digit card number, and then very often have a one-time password to validate this is you conducting a transaction. Now, this one-time password is such a headache for the industry. It's really expensive for the issuers. It's a source of fraudulent transactions and social engineering scams. So we've been thinking around, how do we solve that problem? How do we make digital identity much more seamless? And Visa payment passkeys, together with Click to Pay, brings a shopping experience where you only, for the very first time on a Click to Pay enabled website, enter in your mobile phone number, and then it will pull up all of the card credentials that you have linked to that mobile phone number, and then ask you for a one-time password for the very last time. And once it has identified that mobile device as being linked to that number and that card credential, it is bound with a private key and a public key, so that thereafter, whatever Click to Pay website you use, it will recognize you as being Dan Baxter with these credentials, and use the biometric authentication on your device to confirm that it is indeed you who's conducting this transaction. So just making that e-commerce checkout experience really, really simple. So I think that's one which we've seen rolling out across the region. We're very enthusiastic about. The second one is around the flex credential. So previously, you would have maybe 3 or 4 different cards in your wallet, perhaps a prepaid card, perhaps a debit card, perhaps a credit card. In the digital world, and particularly for Gen Z, which are digitally native, this arbitrary distinction between types of cards doesn't really hold true. And so we're replicating in the digital experience a combining of cards into what we call the flex credential, which is both a debit card and a credit card. It can be a card that enables buy now, pay later functionality to pay in multiple installments. And one toggles between the different types of card according to the experience that you want to use. So for example, if you're buying flights for an expensive holiday and you prefer to pay in 4 installments, you would be able to toggle on your digital experience. I would like to do these types of transactions with a buy now, pay later installment functionality. And so that it gives end consumers the ability to be much more flexible in how they use their cards and their credentials. So those are probably the two that we're most excited about.
Great. So there's a lot of solutions there that are very well suited to digital mature markets where a lot of digital adoption is fast underway. I know you're also working on a number of solutions for many of the markets across the CEMEA region where cash is still prevalent. Perhaps you could talk about one of those.
Exactly. There is this challenge that I talked about before of, although the usage of cash is decreasing, there's still 43% of transactions are conducted in cash. And so how do we digitize that, particularly in markets where you need to build both sides of the ecosystem? So people who have ways to pay that are digital and merchants that can accept digital payments. And so what we're doing is learning from the lessons of other forms of digital payments around the world and building a two-sided network. And one very good example is in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where we're launching something called Visa Pay together with our banking partners that will enable the digital onboarding of customers, new to bank customers or existing bank customers. It will enable the instant digital issuance of a Visa credential and will enable that Visa credential not only to be used at the 150 million merchants around the world that accept Visa, but also to be used as a P2P payment so that you can pay your friends or your family across the Democratic Republic of Congo with instant P2P payments. And we see that as being really fundamental to the shift and accelerating the shift away from cash to digital payments, because a lot of the cash is being used in these person-to-person transactions. And so by building a platform that enables those transactions to be done digitally, and is a platform that comes in two forms, both an SDK that can be integrated in existing bank or fintech or wallet applications, but also is available as a standalone Visa app where customers can download it from the App Store and conduct transactions through that. We think that's going to be a real game changer across many of these more emerging markets.
Fantastic. Well, there's amazing innovations obviously happening across the CEMEA region, and your team is doing stellar work in solving the payments challenges of today and also obviously of tomorrow as well. So thank you again for joining us today, Godfrey.
Thank you, Dan.
Fantastic. Thank you so much also for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed the discussion. And if you'd like to learn more on Visa Intelligent Commerce or any of the other products they mentioned, then please just click on the link below. Thank you.